That's what I was born with. And the capacity to be able to take that and then write it down on a piece of paper. So a group of people can sit around with their instruments and put that creation to life is just, think about what we've just done here. We've taken an inanimate, ideological bullshit story. Because if you told somebody, oh, I hear a piece of music, they say, oh, really? Prove it. It's like, well, prove it. Down for you. Oh, okay, shit. Now that you've written down, you've actually proved it. So, in fact, and I've never really gone here before, and I love this moment, I've never realized that proving that you can hear music and being able to write it down in its very simplistic form or very complex form on sheets for a whole orchestra or a band, because there's a big difference between writing for a rock band or writing for a music score for a movie or for a classical orchestra. The fact that you can take that idea or imagine something and make it a physical thing that becomes audible reality is creation of the highest form. And that is, I think, what this whole thing that you mentioned about is the fact that we can do that. And now, if I remember correctly, the Anunnaki don't have complex music. They don't have music. Well, they have some very basic forms of music.
They said we have audible frequency that we use to manipulate emotion. But they said we don't have anything like melody or melody combined with words that so knit hearts together. They said we don't have anything. They think that's amazing. But they said, that's you guys. You've done this all on your own. You didn't get that from us. You didn't get that from the Neanderthals. You have evolved to be able to do that. That, as you say, you take this inspiration, you somehow write it down, you communicate it, and then it gets created in sound. And incredible. That particular sewing together of different tonal frequencies knits hearts together and mobilizes people and does amazing things. That, I mean, think what music has done in terms of leading people, uniting people.
Okay, and what you just touched upon a really important aspect of how music has been used and abused for propaganda and lie purposes. Because look what they do with movies, right? You can make a movie, you can sell a lie, you can tell a story with images. So when somebody sees something, they're seeing something that was pre-cooked for them. That's it, right? That's what they see. Everybody sees the same thing, pretty much. But when you hear a melody, well, let me come back to so what they then do is they take musicians and they create the mood and the music to make it laughable or depressing or moving or tear-jerking, stressful. So the music creates the moods in a movie. So you use the capacity, the human capacity to compose and create music for certain conditions that creates the ambience in a movie. Because without music, movies would be very, very boring, incredibly boring.
Yep.
And we've got the incredible number of musicians and composers that have become so incredibly good at creating the ambiance through music for movies. I mean, think about it. You know, for me, one of the most impressive explanations how powerful music is. In fact, I used to work for my friend many years ago as a sound editor. Now, you know, when I lived in LA in 1985, when I was a young musician, we were waiting for our big deal to come from one of the big labels. I got a job at Canon Films, and there I was editing. I was a sound effects editor and audio effects, and I would do the final mix for the trailers, all the trailers for Canon Films. And I think I did about like 60 or 70 trailers in the time that I was there, which is a lot of work. And where was I going with this? Completely
manipulating emotions.
Manipulating emotions, and oh no, man! I completely lost my thought. It's terrible. The music. It'll come back to me.
Yep. No, but it is the image does no work. You know, when silent films, right? Silent films didn't work. People didn't go there and just watch. You had a pianist that carried the emotion through the story. Because the image alone doesn't do it for us.
I remember where I was going with it. So I taught sound effects and sound design, and I would take the students, they all come to the film school to learn how to make movies and how to make film. And they forget about how important the sound is. A lot of them want to make beautiful images and these long, beautiful shots and this and that and special effects, but they forget how important the sound and the music is. So what I would do, I would introduce them to the movie world, say welcome, and say how many of you realize how important sound is, and they just wouldn't. Most of them wouldn't know the importance of sound. So what I would do, in fact, I wouldn't even ask them. What I would do, I would take them into this big auditorium, and I would say, we're going to just watch the first 3 minutes of a movie, and just to introduce you to the sound design lecture, and I would switch the lights off. I would start playing the movie, but without the visuals, just the soundtrack of the movie. And then 3 minutes in, I would switch the lights on and say, well, what movie did we just see? And they would all know what movie we saw from the sound, right? It's just like everybody knew the movie just from the sound. You didn't have to see the visuals, the sound. And then I asked them, well, what was happening? And they would tell me what was happening. So the sound brings back the visual memory of it. But when you look at the visual memory, when you look at the visuals alone without the sound, you won't be able to recall the sound effects that support the visual. It's really interesting how powerful sound is in the medium of movies. And this is why television and movies and radio, obviously, are such important and powerful propaganda tools to sell lies and disinformation and propaganda, either positive, but mostly is being used for negative purposes, as we know. And just to finish on this is how powerful sound can be is in creating emotion and effect, right? In a movie, I think the most important or the most memorable and mind-blowing soundtrack to any movie, just two notes that most people alive today hear those two notes and they know exactly the movie, the situation, the fear, the danger, and that is the two notes from Jaws. Da-dum.
Yep.
Da-dum. You play those two notes to anyone, da-dum, and they know danger.
Yep. Yep, absolutely. The composer that I work with for most of my stuff, David Nielsen, he did lots of theater work for me, and I ran a theater in Canada that did mysteries. And I remember we did a particularly scary one. And I remember I was standing with David, and they came out and they said, oh my God, I was on the edge of my seat. That was just, oh my God. And I said, yes, well, it's all thanks to David and the sound score. And they said, what sound score? And David said that was the best compliment he's ever had in his life.
Yes. Yeah, it is. Because, we go to movies and we get so absorbed in the visuals, we forget that it's being driven and lifted by the sound and the. Just think about, what's that? Blair Witch Project. I think Blair Witch Project is one of the best examples of how you can make a shitty movie on a shitty camera on a cell phone. But if the sound is good and the sound creates the mood, the ambience, the environment, the anxiety, the tension, that's it. You can shoot a movie on your cell phone. You can probably make a Hollywood blockbuster on a cell phone. Well, I guess
Blair Witch Project.
It was, exactly, yeah.
Yep. If you got the good sound. Right.
I think
we're pretty close to the end, yeah. So I think that the thing that I think is important is to understand what they were sharing about what they did and how we've gone beyond that. And I think that one of the hopeful things about the work and the tours and the questions that people ask is, well, okay, so what can we do now? And the Anunnaki that are talking to me are very impressed with and surprised with what we're doing. So I remember when we inaugurated the healing circle on the lawn by the river, and they said, we suggested this as a possibility, But now that you've done this, and then we did those huge healing ceremonies in Blobosh Corral, and they said, Blobosh Corral was not intended as a healing circle. That is nothing that we ever intended. But the fact that you have taken this energy and the potential of this energy and the fact that it works above and that it works below, and you've harnessed this energy for a healing purpose, that's amazing. And I just loved hearing that we've taken their stuff and we've gone, well, if it does that, and, we have followed it, we've reshaped it, we've opened ourselves to new understandings, new discoveries. And they said, I remember there was a woman, Anunnaki, that was watching us as we inaugurated that circle. And she said, I would like to write this in the Anunnaki history, that this advance has now happened with our technology.
So what you're saying is that somewhere in the distant space and different dimensions and planets and other species, the Anunnaki has this chapter in their history, how they planted the seeds and created a creature that created this amazing stuff. They created music. They have the capacity to do all this stuff that they normally wouldn't do. And I think that ties back into what you said a few sessions ago about being closer to nature and less technology and less invention or whatever, and being close to nature is what we to be recognizing and relearning, is that we can get pretty much everything we can from being one with nature, one with the frequencies that surround us on every level, from health to mental health, technology. Look how science is moving into biomimicry, mimicking biological organisms and forms to create advanced technology. I mean, that's a whole nother thing we can talk about. Claire Janie should be the one to bring in this, because she's an expert on that. I know a little bit, but I think I just want to just bring in one last thing in here about the music thing, about how we've created music. There's a beautiful movie, very unknown movie called History of Future Folk. The History of Future Folk. And it's about this alien guy arriving on Earth, preparing from a planet called Hondo. It's a lovely little movie. Find it, watch it. It is fantastic. It's one of those wonderful movies, unexpected, out of the blue. I saw it in one of the flights going to the States at one stage. And I watched this. I've never heard of this. I watched it on a flight. Awesome movie. So they send this major commander, military commander from planet Hondo to Earth to come and find Earth, prepare it for invasion and then destruction, killing all humanity so they can take over the planet for themselves. And he comes to Earth and he's ready to do it. He sneaks and works in the nuclear missile things, and he's going to kill everybody. And then he discovers music. He realizes that Earthlings can create and play music. And then he goes, I can't destroy this planet. I can't destroy it. And he goes into hiding, gets a different name. He gets a job and he lives as an alien for like several decades. And then they send another alien after him. They're human. They look human. Yeah, they're human. To come and find him and kill him, and basically so they can replace him with somebody else. And this other guy arrives, and then he plays him music. And this guy goes, oh my God, we can't. And then they create this music duo that they do these gigs, and they basically sing the songs. And in their songs, they sing lyrics. We came from a planet of Hondo to come and take over the world. And people going, yay! Yeah, they love the songs. And they're just telling them the truth. What really went, what a lovely little movie, man.
Gorgeous. Well, yeah. I mean, music saved our bacon, saved the whole planet from being cleansed in one of these times when the big debate was, the Anunnaki have done this bad thing and they've invited all these other races to come and muck around with this creature and make their own version. And this is just bad. This was never supposed to happen. Shame on you, shame on you. And here we are. So I think that, I think it's important for us to understand that, yes, that was how it was created. But, we don't know, 400,000 years ago, 500,000 years ago, some far distant past. But, and here we are today. So let's go forward. We can't go back.
Let's go forward and create beautiful, harmonious music of unity that leads us to abundance and prosperity.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. Well, John Paul, thank you very much. Thanks.
Maybe next time we really will do the giants. Maybe next time we really could do the giants.
Yeah, we'll get to the giants by some channel. Giants are awesome, and they've taught us a lot. I know that, well, thanks to you, they've taught us a lot.
Yeah.
And we got a lot of information from the giants. And what went down here, it's like mind-blowing. Again, so different from anything anybody could have imagined. And yet, we find the fossil evidence everywhere. So when we talk about it, it's not just, we think this is what it is. The reason we have that knowledge and information, thanks to you, is because of the fossils, the body parts of the giants that we have found and located and collected. The small ones are in the museum. The large ones are still out in the fields and the mountains because they're too big to move. But we'll get to that in the future episode.
All right. Ciao.
Bye for now. So John Paul and I are up on the mountain, just not far away from the crocodile, the fossilized crocodile in a giant rock just behind him. And on the way back to the car, guess what we found? Beautiful. Ah, spectacular.